All right, and we are back. 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 Welcome. All right, and we are back. And today we're back with another reaction video. And this one's going to be a fun one, guys. We're back into the religious content. And for some reason, we're adding political content to that as well. Because today we're going to figure out if Jesus would have been voting Republican or Democrat. Now, welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, if you're new, welcome. How are you doing today? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe because you literally never know what'll be next. This video seems like it's going to be very interesting. It's made by our good buddy here at Religion for Breakfast. So make sure you go like, comment, and subscribe to Religion for Breakfast. Make sure you comment that I sent you there. See if he'll, join back and subscribe to the channel because that'll be fun. Make sure you tell him like, oh my gosh, I saw this YouTuber. He was incredible. And then he told me about you. And then I went to you and then I thought you were incredible. Now, if you are familiar with him, just feel free to, still comment that on his channel, but also subscribe. So guys, with that being said, I just have one more thing I just really want to make sure to announce here. That is the fact that if you guys don't like, comment, and subscribe, more importantly, subscribe. That's the most important. YouTube will come through that door right over there. And they will. Would Jesus vote Democrat or Republican?
Would Jesus vote Republican or Democrat? How you answer that question almost certainly depends on your own political ideology.
Guys, I know it's early, but I will say that's true. I feel like Jesus definitely would have been a little bit more liberal, but a part of me feels like, okay, are we getting like reborn Jesus, or is this Jesus straight from Nazareth? He may have a few old school beliefs there. So, shout outs to both sides here. This is going to be a fun one. Personally, okay, I know this sounds like an out, but Jesus do seem like one of those guys who would be like third party. Like he just feels like a third party guy to me. Now, I can see both sides of it, Jesus himself would have so many followers on the right. He'd also have a lot of followers on the left. And, then you could start getting in other groups because, Jesus was Jewish. So now you're going to get that group. He has I'm black. I know a lot of black people who enjoy Jesus very much. And then also like Democrats, again, there's just some Democrats who are just, Christians. So he'd have a big following there. But again, he's not running, I guess. He's just voting. So I don't know. It'd be a tough one. Again, I can see both sides. I can see him being one of those people who doesn't look at whether the person is Democratic or Republican. I feel like he would actually look at their policies. Jesus feels like the read your policies type of guy. He may actually just vote for who he thinks is the best person. He may flip-flop between voting one or the other, in the same ballot. He might want a, third ward Democratic guy and then a eighth ward Republican, and he might be voting for the governor to be Democrat but vote for a Republican president. I don't know. He catches me as that type of guy. You guys vote below though. Comment down below. What do you think?
Now, historically, it's an impossible question to answer. First, pinning down what Jesus actually said is one of the enduring challenges of New
I just answered the question. It's not super impossible. I did it.
Testament scholarship. The Gospels were written decades after the death of Jesus, and scholars are constantly debating which sayings we can trace back to Jesus himself and which ones were changed by later editors. If it's so hard to figure out his authentic sayings, just imagine how much more difficult it would be to figure out his views on modern political issues. Moreover, Jesus lived in a dramatically different political and economic context,
True.
the ancient Roman Empire. So even when he does seem to make statements that we might interpret as political commentary, like rendering taxes unto Caesar, it'd be simplistic at best and inaccurate at worst to make a direct comparison to today, considering the very different political contexts. But what did you think when I asked that question? A team of sociologists recently found that one of the strongest predictors of where Americans locate Jesus ideologically is their own ideological identity. The researchers asked Americans on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you place Jesus on an ideological spectrum? 1 being extremely left-wing and 10 being extremely right-wing. And here.
Okay, before he goes on to it, personally, where would I think Jesus would lie on the spectrum? I don't think he's an extremist on either side, unless you are an extremist. Then here's the thing. If you're an extremist, I think most sides you're going to feel like are the extreme opposite. You know, if you're an extreme leftist, then literally anytime somebody says anything that could be right-leaning, you think they're a extremist. Same thing with the right. So with that being said, I don't feel like Jesus was that type of guy. He feels a little, in my mind, like from my learnings of Jesus, it feels more like he's a level-headed type of person, listen to both sides type of guy, you know, hears both sides of the argument and then makes his decision. Now, with that being said, again, that kind of fits him right towards the middle, but I would say he probably has a few left-leaning ideologies. So, you know, he'd probably be one of those free healthcare type of people, you know, be like, yo, I think we should give, you know, healthcare. I also feel like, okay, if Jesus was around now, I kind of feel like you could talk him into like universal basic income. You know, I feel like you could probably talk to him about that. But again, it'd have to depend on like how much he cared about, you know, the financial markets and stuff. Like, does he care about, is he a guy who loves capitalism? That's another thing. Just in this new society that Jesus is in, how does he feel about capitalism? You know, he might be like, oh, well, those companies need, you know, we can't just, you know, what if he's a pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of guy? You know, I feel like you might be able to talk him into it, but what if also he's like, you know what, that whole pull your bootstraps up thing sounds pretty good. Although then you could just be like, bro, do you know who your dad is?
Here's what they found. The dark bar here
Okay, back to the video.
represents all Americans. But the researchers also broke out Christians and non-Christians in the study to see if religious affiliation plays a role in these ratings at all.
Probably.
Christians are here in white and non-Christians in gray. Right away, you'll notice that big spike in the middle. Over 40% of all Americans think that Jesus is a centrist, with around...
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. I would still even put I would be one of the people that put him at a 6. Yeah, I would have put him at a 6 here. It just feels like he'd have a couple of left-leaning ideologies, but for the most part, in the middle. Okay, between a 4 and a 6. Okay, so I guess 5 is the average there. So I guess 5. But I don't want to say, I don't think he'd be directly in the middle type of guy. He'd either have something that's like a right, a left-leaning thing, or something that's a right-leaning thing. Actually, yeah. I said left-leaning. Yeah, okay. He is old school. He might have a couple of right, you know, leaning ideologies there. You know, keep the families together, stuff like that. I can see both sides of this. Between a 4 and a 6. Not 5, though. Okay? Guys, what do you guys think? You can put 5, but I think 5 is a little bit of a... I don't think 5. I don't personally think it's a 5. It's either 4 or 6. One or the other. You decide. You could put 5, though.
25% of Americans placing him slightly left of center at a 5, and just over 15% putting him at slightly right of center at a 6. This spike can also be seen if we focus only on Christians and non-Christians as well, though Christians are twice as likely as non-Christians to say Jesus is extremely right-wing, and non-Christians are more likely to rate him as left-wing. But
that makes sense. That makes good sense.
The raw numbers don't tell the whole story. Digging into the results, they found something surprising. Quoting one of the researchers, the sociologist Samuel Perry, the ratings are almost all about politics, and almost nothing to do with being religious or even Christian. The sociologists not only measured the respondents' religious identity, but they also measured their religiosity. Things like how often they attend religious services, how often they pray, how important is religion to them personally. And they found that both of these characteristics, a person's religious affiliation and their level of religiosity, had little to do with how that person rated Jesus on the right-left spectrum. When it comes to affiliation, they found the ratings of Christians and non-Christians do not appear statistically distinguishable when accounting for shared political ideology. In other words, left-leaning Christians and left-leaning non-Christians rated him the same. And on the flip side, right-leaning Christians and right-leaning non-Christians rated him the same.
Okay, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's really just about your personal political ideology. You know, I guess that goes to show with me, bro. I'm a little bit censored, but I probably got some right-leaning views, you know, maybe a couple of left-leaning views, you know, a little bit of both on both sides. You guys would be like, oh my gosh, I thought, you know, you hated all of these. And I'm like, no, I don't hate anybody. You know, I don't. You know, there's some people on both sides that I think, there's a lot of people on both sides actually, I feel like are pretty lame. But you know what? I don't know. I can't fully say everything. I gotta look at every argument by argument. I guess that's literally what I just said about Jesus. Darn it. You're so right, breakfast for religion or religion for breakfast. I'm confusing it. I said it backwards. Religion. Stop looking at me like that, religion for breakfast. You're staring at me with this look of just like, you just know that you were right at the beginning. I made this whole thing. I was talking to you guys about like what Jesus would have been voting like, and then I just described what I would be voting like. Okay, religion for breakfast. I see your game here.
The political ideology is the common denominator, not religious affiliation. Religiosity also had very little effect. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian that goes to church all the time or never. It doesn't matter if they're highly committed to Christianity or not. If an American Christian is very conservative, they'll rate Jesus as very conservative, regardless of their own commitment, and vice versa for liberal Christians. Again, political ideology is the common denominator, and not...
Okay, guys. Describe your opposite version of Jesus that you just commented on before. So let's say you're one of those people who were like, oh man, I think Jesus would have been super liberal. What would Republican Jesus be like in your mind? I want to hear those comments. So I said Jesus would be a little bit more like in the middle and then left leaning or left or right leaning. So I'll do both sides. So extremist Jesus. Oh man, extremist left-leaning Jesus would be so freaking insufferable. Let's see, no meat. He's like super vegan, ultra vegan type of thing. Literally just drinks water. Probably like doesn't filter it or something. But like once, I don't know. It's some very weird stuff. He just drinks water, doesn't eat anything else. You know, he's literally always talking about whose dad is. He's literally always trying to get everybody to do some hippie stuff. It'll be so annoying. He'll never see any point about anything. I don't even know. I think left-leaning Jesus will be super annoying. Now, extremist right-wing Jesus may be a menace to society as far as like just extreme right-wing like political views. You know, he'd start getting into the political system with that type of, you know, if he's right-leaning. Because here's the thing, extremist left-leaning people would probably say a lot, but then like not put the effort into getting into the right places. But I feel like an extremist Republican Jesus would become a politician. And then, you know, with that fan base, it's on with the races. It's going from, you know, local. He's skipping it. He's going straight to president, you know, and after that, it's probably straight to like taking over the entire world to make sure that everyone is like with the same plan of the same, you know, ideology. Like we got Jesus here. Like, why are we not? You know, who's not going to vote for him? Like, literally, he's gonna command your votes. Now that's just my version of it. Again, what do you guys think? It's either, for me, it's either he's going to be super annoying if he's left leaning, like one of the most annoying people you could think of, where you'd be like, ah, bro, you're starting to turn people off, or super right leaning, where he may take, become a world president. And if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if he's world president, because I know at least for U.S. president, I'll probably vote. I'm probably voting for him, even if I'm not gonna like all his views, guys. But it is Jesus here. I'm not gonna be the one guy who didn't vote for Jesus here. So, again, what do you guys think it will be? What do you guys think he would be like? Again, tell me what you guys think initially, and then also I want to hear what you think about his opposite, his doppelganger, if you will. What do you think he would be like in the reverse version of that? So comment down below.
Not one's level of religiosity. These conclusions mirror what other sociologists have called projection. People project their values onto their gods,
That's
and
true.
onto Jesus in particular in the US. For example, a study from 2011 showed that American Christians, both on the left and right, tend to believe that Jesus Christ holds the same policy preferences that they hold. They asked a sampling of American Christians how they would rate his support for a variety of political issues.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Jesus wouldn't like everything I like. Jesus probably wouldn't be for everything that, I'm for. Jesus would probably be like, oh man, you probably shouldn't be I don't know. He'd probably be like no marijuana or something. He'd probably be against it. Well, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. He feels. I actually thinking about it. He feels like he might be kind of pro marijuana, anti-abortion. He'd probably be against that. Just be like, more. Let's fix the adoption agencies and stuff. If that's the case, what else? Would Jesus be pro-gun? I feel like no. I feel like Jesus wouldn't be pro-gun. I personally don't care, so I guess I'm pro-gun. But I don't think Jesus would be, because of the use of them. And they're super fun though. I feel like, okay, if you could take Jesus to a shooting range, do you think he would go? Comment down below. Do you think Jesus would go to a shooting range just for the funds, And also, second, would he go hunting? So let's answer those questions also below. That's like the third question. This is call and response, guys. I'm calling. Now you respond in the comments. So call, respond. This is a great video so far.
Gay marriage, taxation on the wealthy, or access to abortion. The researchers had them rate his views on a scale from 1 to 100, 1 being he holds an extremely liberal position on the issue, and 100 an extremely conservative view on the issue. Here were the results for taxation on the wealthy. The darker bar represents how respondents characterized their own beliefs, and the gray bar how they characterize the beliefs of Jesus. Remember, a higher bar indicates a more conservative opinion. So in this case, liberals think Jesus is lower on the scale and would hold an extremely liberal position on the issue. Conservatives think he would hold a more conservative opinion. Interestingly, when it comes to this question, both liberals and conservatives assume Jesus would be slightly more liberal than themselves. But at the same time, both sides assume that he would generally align with their own respective side.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like taxation of the wealthy? I feel like I do feel like you could talk him into universal basic income, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not gonna immediately be like, oh, he's for every, program out there, but part of me feels like he would be for a good amount of them that help people, at least help people who are like poor and stuff like that. I feel like he would be for them. Now, what are they about to talk about? Banning gay marriage. Ooh, do you guys think that Jesus would be okay with gay marriage? Like, here's the thing. I feel like Jesus may have that old school stance of like, you know what? Marriage should be between a man and a woman. Now, that's just me. I just feel like Jesus might have those views. Now, me personally, I don't. I personally don't care. I'm already divorced. So realistically, you guys can do what you want to do. But I feel like Jesus may have a one of those slightly more, Republican viewpoints that I don't have. Uh, which is crazy because this list seems to show that most people feel that way. That most people feel like Jesus would be a little bit more old school with it. Now, is that because of the church and the Bible? Has Jesus himself ever said anything about gay marriage? That's for you guys to comment below. This is another call and response, guys, thing. I already told you what I thought. So go for it, guys. Would Jesus be pro banning gay marriage or anti? Can we just say pro gay marriage or anti gay marriage? Would he be for it or against it, guys? You comment down below.
For other issues like banning gay marriage, both liberals and conservatives assume that Jesus would be slightly more conservative. But again, both sides still assume that Jesus would generally agree with them. The researchers concluded that America.
Nah, I don't feel like he'd agree with it. I think he would tell me that no, they shouldn't do it. Like I just said, I think I don't care. Like I guess I'm for it. I think gay people should be able to get married. Again, I truly don't care. I'm already divorced, but for Jesus, he might be like, you know what, I'm not down with that. I also don't think he'd be down with sex before marriage. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm pretty pro sex before marriage, but again, I think Jesus would be like, don't do that. Resist all the stuff. That's just me though. I feel like he would have some of those views. Would he agree with everything they do at the churches? I don't know. I got to figure out all the stuff they do. I know there's one thing that has happened in a couple of Catholic churches that I know that I feel like Jesus wouldn't agree with. And I'm sure you guys do as well. Some of those priests can't look Jesus in the face, bro. They when Jesus come around to the board meetings, all of a sudden, hey, where's Pastor Joseph or Cardinal whatever? They'll be like, oh man, somehow they got sick on the day Jesus was showing up. Oh, yeah, would you believe it? Crazy coincidence. Well, maybe you can make a house visit. No, don't go to their house. Don't check their hard drive, Jesus. Back to the video.
American
guys.
Christians project their own views of specific political issues onto those of Jesus. And they went on to argue that people.
Oh, man. All right, come on, guys. I don't think Jesus would wear that hat. Not like that. Because you didn't even get. I feel like if he's wearing that hat, he may just decide to cut his hair a little bit. I don't know. He definitely wouldn't wear that hat with that outfit. He'd probably wear a t-shirt or something. So we gotta, if you're gonna add him with the hat, why is the shades? Okay, I'm being too picky about it. There's still the sun reflecting directly on here and no shadow from the hat. You guys could have edited this a little bit better. That's all I'm saying. And also give him a better shirt. He's not going to be wearing a brand new hat with the old school shirt, freaking robe. He'll probably be wearing an updated shirt and everything too. I would hope he'd be wearing something that had America. Actually, I just thought about it. Jesus can't even run for president because he's not American. He wasn't born in America. So he is historically and famously actually known for being born in Nazareth. So I just thought about it. Well, maybe he'll be able to change it. I feel like if Jesus was around, you could vote him to become governor. And I feel like, okay, Jesus is governor. They're 100% trying to figure out a new law to pass so he could be president. So, okay, I revert back to it. Jesus may not be able to be president, but if he at least becomes governor, he's definitely heading on the way to become president. And then the world thing, the world president thing is happening. I just think he would definitely be American president first. And that's, again, American biased. But that's how I feel.
make these projections in an effort to reduce cognitive dissonance, the psychological discomfort that we feel when holding multiple conflicting opinions at the same time. In other words, the notion that Jesus might not agree with your politics causes so much discomfort that you reduce that discomfort by projecting your values onto him. Oh, Jesus would definitely agree with my tax policy, no worries. This corroborates another study that found that Americans tend to be more egocentric when estimating God's beliefs about a political issue, when compared to estimating the average American's opinion on the same issue.
Come on, guys. God's not going to always agree with you. That's why you got to pray. That's why you got to ask for forgiveness, because you be doing stuff that you already know he don't agree with.
If I asked you what the average American thinks about abortion access, chances are you'll try to intuit the answer using your own beliefs as a guide.
Yeah.
But people also rely on other methods, like stereotypes like Texans are conservative or Californians are liberal. Or maybe they'll rely on actual knowledge about the issue, like public opinion polling or a recent election result. But when it comes to intuiting the thoughts of God, the respondents' answers in the study were much more strongly correlated with their own opinions.
Yeah.
As the researchers put it, inferences about God's beliefs are not readily available. One can quiz neighbors on their beliefs, read editorials about celebrities' positions, or observe public opinion polls. But religious agents do not lend themselves to public opinion polling. These studies align with something that scholars of religion have been theorizing for over a century. Religion reflects society. In his book, The Elementary Forms of Religious Life.
Wait, have people not known that? Oh, guess what, guys? Social media also reflects society. It kind of amplifies certain parts of it that really aren't that, prevalent in real life society, but it kind of, it's the same thing. Pretty much all forms of media, anything you see on TV reflects society. Pretty much everything that we have, sports, everything, they all reflect society. So if you didn't know, there are a lot of things that reflect society. Religion is definitely one of them. But pretty much everything else we do to distract you, anything you're looking at or doing to distract you from the fact that life is probably a reflection of society. So there you go.
Life. The sociologist Emil Durkheim argued that religious symbols, sacred stories, rituals, and gods are representations of society itself. They reflect the concerns and values of that society. The scholar Russell McCutcheon summarizes his theory well. Durkheim understood claims about God to be a way in which participants projected outside themselves their sense of the group's own needs. When religious insiders make claims about God's wishes and God's judgment, these are symbolically coded talk about society's wishes and society's judgments. Philosophers have been saying something similar for centuries. The Greek philosopher Xenophanes once said that if horses could draw, they'd paint their gods like horses. And the sociologist in the study quoted the 17th century philosopher Spinoza. A triangle, if it could speak, would likewise say that God is eminently triangular, and a circle that God's nature is eminently circular. But Durkheim was among the first to build a systematic naturalistic field of study examining these claims, and his theories are widely held by scholars of religion today, arguing that religious talk turns out to be society talk, or to put a finer point on it, God talk turns out to be society talk. It gets tricky though. These studies might lead us to conclude that people simply create their gods in their own images, but sometimes it seems to be the other way around. Sometimes someone's image of God influences their opinions. This is what sociologists call images of God research. These are studies arguing that people's ideas about God shape political views and values. So for example, do you think Jesus is hypermasculine? Well, studies have found that people who believe in a hypermasculine God increases support for militarism and more severe forms of criminal punishment, including support for capital punishment. Other studies have found that belief in supernatural evil, like belief in Satan or hell, is also a strong predictor of supporting more severe criminal punishments. Another study found that people who see God as more judgmental are less likely to volunteer in their communities. And on the flip side, those who think of God as less judgmental are more likely to volunteer. Now, scholars still debate about the cause and effect going on here, or the causal direction if we want to use the fancy term. Are political identities influencing Americans' images of God, or are images of God influencing people's political identities? The authors of this...
Yeah, and here's another thing. So how do you guys feel about, like, let's say you're Asian, or, from India, you're from... Africa, anything like that, like you're black, you're Hispanic, and then you grow up with the images of Jesus that, the white Jesus, obviously not fully historically accurate Jesus. Uh, how do you feel? How does that affect you growing up, seeing the person that you're worshiping not reflect yourself? You know, Most likely Jesus was, look, Middle Eastern, probably a little bit closer to me. I'm be honest, but hey, you guys may think I'm projecting, but yeah. So like, if you and if you're seeing that image, does that affect you at any way? And then also like how you feel about certain groups of people, it probably makes you see people who look like that tone a little bit, in a higher light, subconsciously, which, probably would explain a lot of things. So think about that. Everybody, just have that thought in your mind for a long amount of time. Expand on that thought in the comment section.
This ideological spectrum study argue for the former, the projection theory. Since they found that religious affiliation and religiosity seem to have little effect on people's ratings, they agree with the perspective that societies largely project their biases and values onto their gods. Though they are careful to say that.
See, look at that. Do you think an Asian guy could have been dressed up like Jesus and been like this? Do you think it would have looked weird if literally any one of these Asian people behind him would have been dressed like that? Do you think it would have been a little bit more weird? Or does he, based off seeing the images that we've all been seeing himself, seeing a little bit of himself in that image, is that what drove him to do this? Because he could have just said, Jesus was cool with this, with the same sign. But he dressed as Jesus himself, in order to portray the image, because he already knew what the the reflection. He knows what he looks like. He knows what the most common image of Jesus is. So he already is coming into this with the whole like, oh, I am this message. Like, just being me is part of the message. The sign is now secondary because I am cool with it. He is I. That's what you know what I mean? Like that, it's crazy.
Largely project their biases.
Expand on that point in the comments.
And values onto their gods. Though they are careful to say that they did not definitively demonstrate a causal direction in this study, so it doesn't necessarily contradict images of God research. But while these studies continue, this much seems clear. Americans will continue to try to recruit Jesus to their side of the aisle, as the US has reached record levels of polarization in recent years. And I'm not just saying that based on vibes. Just to quote one of the many studies with these findings, America has reached record high levels of polarization and is now excessively polarized. Which does not sound like a good thing, and I place a lot of the blame on social media, which filters us into echo chambers and rewards content heavily laced with ideological bias.
Bro, I was gonna say the same thing, bro. Like, guys, you guys are on the internet always looking at the same stuff. Like, come on. You're getting into these echo chambers, and then you're just like spouting off. Back when I was growing up, there were only a couple of people in your city you could find that were like, had those same crazy ideas. And then at best, it'd be two of you, maybe four at tops. But then now you got the internet. Now there's thousands. Now you guys congregate, and then the kind of crazy thoughts become extremely crazy thoughts, and then one person is always there to actually act on those crazy thoughts and be that guy in real life now. Oh my gosh, guys, stop it. I think we should probably get rid of like on Instagram and stuff, maybe get rid of comment sections. Definitely on Twitter. Get rid of the whole comment section idea on Twitter. Not everybody needs a voice. I'm sorry. You guys can comment on my channel, though. Comment down below.
Which is why I'm always excited to introduce today's sponsor, Ground News.
Whoa,
Ground News is a website and
I love Ground News. Now, he is sponsored by them, and I am not. So, you know what you need to do. Reach out to Ground News. Make sure that they know that I should be a sponsor for them as well. Because with Ground News, you're going to be able to figure out whether the news you're reading here is left leaning, right leaning, or it's more central. So if you're one of those people who are just trying to figure out, okay, I've been reading so much left leaning news, but I actually want to figure out these stories on the other spectrum. So what you'll be able to see with this code, all you got to do is go to ground.news/religionforbreakfast. So make sure you check him out. His link will be in the description down below. I paused here so you can do the code thing, scan the code, but actually go to his channel, watch the video again to scan his code, or go to click on his link, which will be on the description of this channel here below. But yeah, with Ground News, you'll be able to figure out like, okay, which stations am I watching? All the things that I like to cover. What political spectrum do they cover? Do they go more on the right? Are they left? Are they, kind of in the middle there? Check my sources. You can check the same news stories and then just check different sources for that same news story and know what political spectrum that they're on. So if you are a person who's like, I'm super right leaning, but I do want to know what they're actually saying. I don't want to just hear what the right leaning pundits are telling me to hear. I actually want to hear from his own mouth. I want to hear from the liberals' mouths themselves. Bam, there you go. And then you could go back and tell all your friends, guys, you don't even know the half of it. They're actually saying this. And then on the left, you can do the same thing. You can go over there and be like, oh man, I don't want to just hear what the left-leaning political pundits are telling me. I'm going to go over to the right. And then you're going to listen to them and be like, guys, you don't even know the half of it. They're saying this. And then in the center, you're just going to be like, wow, both of these people are saying some of this stuff here, but this is clearly the story. This is clearly what's going on. So fill all of your political ideologies and all of your viewpoints, get your head filled with all your right leaning, left leaning, and central no leaning takes on all the same subjects, and you can get a breakdown. It's really great stuff. He's going to give you a discount. You'll be able to know about the Trump White House and the White House clash over Biden's recognition. You'll be able to know about the Pope's exposed confidential details of past conclaves and settles the score. What the heck? There's a lot of stuff, crazy news. Go figure it out. What's that? Most of that is censor covered. So, bam, there you go.
It's 2009, also happens to be Transgender Day of Visibility. So here, Ground News has aggregated 105 media outlets covering this story. The story was picked up slightly.
Incredible stuff there, guys. Let's get to the part where he gives you the discount, because I know he's going to give you one.
Which is basically a dashboard for your news diet. It shows you called My News.
Look at this.
From three independent organizations that monitor the news. One of my favorite features is called My News Bias, which is basically a dashboard for your news diet. It shows you your personal reading trends over time.
Personal reading trends, guys.
Ground News Ground News.
You're going to get 40% off. That's the actual deal, guys. Go to ground.news / not backward slash, you got to do the / or it's not going to work, Religion for Breakfast, and then you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan. 40% off. You're pretty much getting it half off. Honestly, at this price, you can't afford not to get it. So if you'd actually be losing money if you don't do this. Now, if you think about that too hard, it may not make a lot of sense. So don't think, act now. Go ahead and go to ground.news / religion for breakfast, get 40% off, save the money, because if you don't spend the money, you can't save the money. This is capitalism. This is how it works, guys. You just don't think about it too hard. Stop thinking about it. I see you. I know you're thinking about it. Stop. I know you're thinking, oh my God, how do you save money if you're spending? Stop thinking about that, okay?
Working to
spend money, but get the 40% off.
To make the media landscape
get
more
40% off. Get it. And that would be my ad, guys.
Transparent.
You already know I'm great at this. But yeah, that was a great video, man. Honk for Jesus if you're in a car right now listening. But yeah, guys, that was another great video. again, make sure you comment down below. I know I gave you guys a lot of call and responses. There's a lot of things you're going to have to respond to because I called out. I called. Now go ahead and do the response thing and we'll be all set, guys. I had a great time. Again, I can't wait to read all the comments about this. This will be a fun one. This might come out on a Sunday because it's religious, but it's also political. It'll be a fun one, guys. So, guys, I do want to thank you if you made it this far. As always, I appreciate you. You guys are the best. I've been so happy with how this channel's growing, and I just can't wait for it to grow with more. Hopefully, this video won't cause a lot of hate. So remember, be nice to each other in the comments as well. If you're mean to me or whatever, that's one thing. Just be nice to each other in the comments, okay? Be respectful to each other in the comments, guys. You may not all agree with each other, but, respect each other's opinions. But yeah, with that being said, as always, I want to say thank you. I love you guys. Bye.